I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, the teaching, and the spiritual community. By the merit of sharing teachings, may I achieve Buddhahood in order to help all living beings. I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, the teaching, and the spiritual community. By the merit of sharing the teachings, may I achieve Buddhahood in order to help all living beings. I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, the teaching, and the spiritual community. By the merit of sharing the teachings, may I achieve Buddhahood in order to help all living beings. She's gonna come. Oh, I don't know.
Good girl. Feel down. Feel down. Yes.
Oh. There's a aluminum chemo.
심지어 탐지할 정도 조배상계 고마름 부치치네야 도버차스 대체도 담배 추니 냠배 고노세 담네 semba쇼스네 되었다.
So
Is that enough?
no. So listen with the motivation where you say to yourself, I will listen to these teachings with the intention to attain highest enlightenment, Buddhahood, for the welfare of all beings. That's what that is.
Oh yeah, that did that. Jada churku did it also.
Yeah, so we're starting it at verse 119, or Genla's counting system, 118, our system with 30 on page 307 here.
Yeah. That's hele kyo kabasu do. The kalsu do sina. That the lule teke na su do. Get it send the one body su do. One bo me one na so ba te se. Lule ke ba re sera. Lule ke la te chime one bo lule te war me do bo sina. Kaji su la bu do. Send the one bo to lule ke re sera. Chigola Muliani, Chimago Yomarati, Lulitan, get to Maresegua. Shenas, it could Sulabua.
Oh, there.
Then it to Logimbe.
So the opponent here is saying that the fact that the sense faculties of this life arise from the body does not prove that the sense faculties of a future life arise from a body. So, no. That is
They are done a digmaris, taxation and digmadosi that take Marisura. They are done a metabartarse. One would not chebe lule kenase. And me one now I want to stop by Yube Lule Tani, and you want so much Makiba Inasugara. One would not chebe lule kenas and delicate, and you want him no amaleke, no amaleke, but delicate and do this. The lay Shambe and Yelene Kenase. One would remember back in the Luigi Chasha and Delicate give a Yanasugara. And then Nibanga to Durusirse, and then Namashin to Tower Duruse. Nardo Dedica, so one would Gemasi, Tapas and the casting by international going with this. What about the Chilana?
no. So the Buddhist rejoinder for this is, if we analyze that, it follows that it is unacceptable, because if the sense faculties originate from a body that has sense faculties, then it is proven that they arise from a homogene. And if they arise from a substantial cause other than that, then the false pointed out earlier will follow. The analysis of the body with and without sense faculties is as before in the brief demonstration.
Lu Shaya, Dinilani Georgios. Tini Chime Lu Shaya, Sunday Tambo on Bungabode, any similar Tenikeva, and any Joangamal Tenikendugora. Joangamal Tenikigora. Dinani Chigalamuge, Chimago, but was Sunday similar Tenikisho, this water. Dinani Geran Joachima Mevaswati, Duma de Joachima Yoga Kelly, go this one. Chime Lu Shaya, some Dinile Joan Durota. Sendi Wombo Semble Kewa Kanshi, Nachi Lu Gui Sungbeses. Do not Kawachima Dubos and Kawachima Yoba Tagresungura.
The opponent then says the sense faculties of this life arise from mind. And the Buddhist response is, it follows that other bodies of subsequent lives, this is at the point of death now it's talking, also will arise from that mind, because the sense faculties of this life arise from mind, and previous and subsequent bodies must have the same type of cause. If that is asserted, future lives are proven.
This is maybe to see Kagbe Tonto Sigua. So look at Gatan Yishudira. That Joanga de Chima may said maybe to Jisutara, Tipaka was a looking. That Kagba de Tonda to Tunish against Sangua. Joangachi maybe to see Paka started to that Tunish about it. Gatan Yishudu Tishadua.
Now we have at the verse starting with verse 119, then a summary of this refutation of the non-existence of previous and future lives.
Then Judah Trevisher, Tama in a Semnam, some Jumeba Medicine, and to the London Dussedua. Oh, that, and a Judah Trevisher, Ludi, Yelun, Yelenda, Henji Chicken, Cabarija Mayimba, 10 answers, 10 answers to Jerodua. That under Badokai, the Karika version, Ludi, the Luan John, the Sobatezoke, Yeloke, Yelen Chigmare, Tagin, Senji Chicken, Tagin, Cabarja Chigmare, the Kabarua. Or Tenasa Casa, but Tenasura. Lu Yelenda, Henji Chicken, Cabarja. Mayimba Tenasura. Tena Judah Trevisher, Tameba, the Trajumba, Tamay, Semnam Kunshus, Tamay in the Semnam Kunsedra. Judah Trevisher, Tamay in this answer, Tameba, Trajumba, Tamay, Sem to Chusura, Tamay in the Semnam Kuns, Tamasi, the Tameba Chigalamism, Chig the Trajum Tamesem, the Sigora, Tamay in the Semnam Kuns. Tenikasu was in Rindachiman, some sort of meba in this, some sort of meba minsera. Rindachiman, some sort of meba in this. The Dutch of Jungoda Trevishes. The Tenacuda Trevishes, the Jungoda Trevishes. And the Trevisina, Jungoda Trevisina, Tamabe Semnibutes, Jawachima Samsua. Meba Marise. This one, Trachumba Tamaya Semna Kunsuja, Rindachima, some sort of meba yinde, Rindachima, some sort of meba yinde, the Darcho, Ju Unjunguda, Trevisher, Sismi Besher, Shingoba, Nam, Tayanda Mindi order, that could suit Takudwa. Judan Tevage, Tamain, Semna, good some Jurgamare said, good Sula Gua, some Jurme. That the Ralu Maris Paka Gua. Tayanda Mainde, Keranta Kobe, Tayanda Maris, Samson Meba, Mins, Tayanda Mimba Tisheris Gua. Mins, Tayanda Mimba Tisheris, Tayanda Mainde, Gondo troops and beaches, the Talia, Tayanda Maiba Casar in Segura. Oh, the Zanko, the Tipa de Chilamna. Yeah.
This verse 19, and if we read the commentary, it starts with the reason. What do you say? The reasoning set of the Charvakas, the materialists. It sets forth that reasoning. The body is not the substantial cause or special cooperative. Or special cooperative condition of mind, so all final minds of ordinary beings and arhats do not connect with subsequent homogenes, because they are separated from breath, which is the cause of connection, and because they are death-time minds. Now, the reasons set forth are not correct because of that proof to that effect above.
Yeah. That the troops like then do said that. Jada Nishan Betsikan Tamadu Shegdua. The troops like then do Kirangi, a Jongachi, Meba Shebe Trupsiti, in the Tayanda Marese. Like then get the race, Tarna race, Tarnagnan, like then get the race. The troops like then do. Takadresana. Then it's chasing beaches. Tameba chicken some church, Rebachima some majority, chasing in beaches, Penatrazum Tamesam Shinos, Kotakos, what did that? Tameba chicken some the church, some chima, Yuluchima, some Churgamaris, could chasing the basta, she do it in it all the Goresura, Penatrazum Batamesam Shinos, Korva, or the tie and the Maris, then to the tie and the Mari, Sagdanki Tanzis water. Chasing in beaches, Shako about in the troops. Sagden don't do it, Choju drop. Midwin Shola, Maton, some Dogwall at Tazum Savage. Oh, Tameba Chige, some church answer. Ribachim at some majority, Chisimi Bay, Sera. Chisimi body, Midwin Shode, some Joro at it. Some Joro, Chisim de Meba Matuba, Midwin Shola. Maton, some Maton, Meba Tungumaris, Hagden, like that is my shanker. Hagden, and a tire that will Joro Alea. She's harder, Medusal Meba Ton, the harder was. She's not on our race. Hagden, you tell the race. Diana Maris or Tillam Dura. So that she gives it and you told the shade upon it.
No.
They did to July then.
That they say such statement as because they are death time minds. For the what do you say, the Charvaka, for the Charvaka, then they feel that that's proof, because at the death time the mind is completely, what do you say, becomes non-existent, and but the Buddhists are saying that such statements that because they are death time minds are correctly asserted to be incomplete proofs, because the reason is proven to exist in the subject, but merely by the fact that we do not see the non-accordant, there is said to be doubt about negative concomitants.
This way.
No, do so.
Oh, that and the bado ko kiwangachi yo mares, ralu kiwangachi yo but the troops on.
No.
Oh, Kokashin, Yilu to the Lulitane, Pamengena, Sokucha, the Lulitane, Yiluti or Sigora. And then Louis Pameto Chidusan, Chigalamutilani, Chisim de Tondor, Tichima, Yamari, Chima Yamari Sigora. Kiwanamaki Yamari, Italia, Shebata, Louis Yamari Sigora. And it's same that the conductor Lulitan Kigor Sigora. Utara Lugo, de Yiluti, Lugi. Karsora, Tagin Chabasora. Mishi, Nashi, Cheshi, Lushi to the Kanga, Luangi, Tagin Chabalton, Tigresia. In a yellow day, in a Wombo, Sujamba to Tagin and Tigmares, Yelich and Tigmares. Or the Luletan, Luletan, sent to the Kadu Tigre, and the Lu Chavamedu, and sent the Tondo, Tonga Maresagora. And the Perugilianco Ude. She said, "Young Luchas and yours, Ukores, candy, Uticores, Utic, you look at this, Andy. Around Ugupa, you look at your mother, you look at Utsuki or Unjung, Bazucha with Eswara. And what in this in the castle?
No.
Oh, Mount, she loved them.
No.
This one.
Do so.
Yeah.
So just a quick review that the Charvakas have this idea that that the mind is produced from the body. You know, once the what do you say, semen and ovum of the parents join together, then that physical what is it, creation of the body then gives rise to the mind. So then as the body then is destroyed at death, then so is the mind. And so then the Buddhists come back at that and say, well, it's true that the body gives rise to the mind in such instances as the sensory consciousnesses, but it's not true of the what we're calling the conceptual mind here. Conceptual mind depends upon previous sensory consciousness or previous instances of mind in order to be produced. So then the discussion goes from there to saying that the breath is what gives rise to the mind, and this is again rejected or refuted by the Buddhists, saying that the breath, what do you say, is produced from the mind, not the other way around.
Ayako Kapchelia Luke, Lu to Temambuora. Lu Teda, Semibity to Temambuor, Timato, Sem Loso Maracochena. And Duzanko to Ted Sem Chipanesiana, Lud and some chasing in Silva. Chipares, Luz and Simpson Logayoma, Lucorandi. Simplicere, Timado Marisuda. But they are not Chamichis, Yanaja, Lu Chamichis. And it Luda simply Jeji, Chamichi, and it Lugia, Shebalia, Udameda, don't come to Danga, don't try to kill Nashi, Lula, Udameda, Shire of a town to rest in Kagua.
Oh, dear.
Tandako, Lugi, one shell at the Pentoko. Lunda to Yonshin Dogra. The Yeshe de la Cup Pentog de Esgora. Cup Pentog de Lud de Mana, and the same get you name it to what in the Pentogs ma de Esgora. Cup Chile Pentog, Lulu Hakung as Lulit and the same day, Deora, come damn that one, the lieutenant is some cold Giora. To the Chiviora. In a Nelema, the Tajan Cabaret, Lud de Mana, Cora net to which you are Esgora. Penangana Pumba side Pumba to Medrata and to capture Meg Pentogrua. 메라도 고 차고제 마부차그라 이나 고 메나 메드메나 딱바리스 부분에 메도 된다게 말아 뭐 단들이 두실람나 들
Och det, jag kan inte, bede,
가리안 잘라고
bede,
베데 붕바 메자당그라 낙바 소셔베 붕바요
det är det.
메자당도 차부차그라 낙바샤샤네 순두그라
Nej,
어디 메자당지
det är det. So then they have this idea that the body and mind are made up of atoms in the same way. So then they say just as there's many types of mind, it's we get this anger and attachment and jealousy and compassion and love, all these different kinds. They're all just substantially existent, just like the body is substantially existent, and then so then the Buddhists reject that idea that the mind is it's the same substance as the body. You can say, if that were true, then what is manifest in the qualities that are manifest in the mind should be manifest in the body as well. But that's not so. And then the Buddhists are saying that we can understand a lot with our sensory consciousness, but the mental consciousness, or what are we saying, the conceptual mind is also helpful. So then we have to, it's just like we can think about things and decide and create things with our conceptual consciousness, and it's just like firing up clay. The earthen pot is going to sort of dissolve unless you if you add to it, you harden it with firing it in a kiln. That do so.
Ah yeah. Dangani de solukan de da kasure. Jada ni shutagji de la georda.
And now we're up to 120.
Oh, de karesna. Da ko disigdo. Komle kebran jurna ya chongda chui dressing do. Rangshin lende minshin asigdo. De karesna. Oh, da ko kyongaji yebe wandu tansere kokra. Kyo kashi chilia ningji chembudo kom tende chebe ingirde. Ina ningji komna toza ko ya peldan dugude sigora. Chambadan chawatuzo. Ina tamme do pene simjian tamje kebamega ba tarchimba. Tende jure yo mare sigora. Tamme do pel tu mare. Tamme baje tartu do bado tende simjian tamje le kebachi amba tende kitu mare sigora. Yeah. Komle kebaran jurna yang chongdan chui dressing do pechagdo. Chong jaya de. Chong jaya yora. Chong this one. Chong sin kasira.
Jumping.
Oh yeah. Sweet. It is chong di chan to se chan do da. Ine ko chan tamme de pene pase chiksen de chong to yo marwa. Kona sobol pa be seng ever ketil ta do marwa. Jambulin tinsa ko chom di chi chom mama chom se. Da war se ya do ne chom yo mara. Ruzil seng ever tilan do to yo marwa. Sa chong da chui de. Chui de medan chu char so char do ra. Tamme de pene chu de ma bu chane. 자마부 차원나 시대데 차이가 말와.
네.
어디나 시대에서.
네.
정바다 추유 주신도 잠바다 자발라서 봐. 곰네 또지 개발도 배기어데 탐메도 변에 탈시 버튼데 이게 말해서도. 야. 세전지랑시. 랑실인데 미스 그 세지어라. Sobula Babu Jakaja Chomna Chan Chom Tura. Tilla to Maris. Ninji Chambato Sobaya Comna says that those people internet says the name Andrea Maris. Sikansum did on the Lagua.
So now the discussion is changing, and here the argument is that qualities like love and compassion are not going to be infinite. You can't bring them to their perfection. Maybe is a good or here it's talking about transcend, something transcendent. But here the reason for that is that you can sort of, we can say that through accustomation you can have some improvement in love and compassion, but there's no way that it can be infinite. It can't go on infinitely. It's therefore it's it has it's finite, for lack of a better word, and it's so it's just like jumping. You can improve jumping, like in the Olympics we get a world record every once in a while because somebody's able to jump a little bit further, but it's not it's not going to increase infinitely, and also boiling water, it's not going to somehow it's not going to it's not like suddenly it's going to become like metal and get really red hot. That's not. It has a certain finite length that you can transform it to.
Yes, oh, 당은 좀 시험 못 돼. 당연히 데르다 거스래. 근데 시간이 수적지 탐마디지. 아니 니 수적이 시간 시디 된다 시도. 다른 수적이 된다.
Oh, chitenen de lona de causa de jalde. Although through a little accustomation to compassion and wisdom, etc., one can attain excellence in them, they cannot transcend their limited natures and increase infinitely. For example, although by accustomation to jumping, one can develop limited excellence, the length of one's jumps will not increase infinitely, and boiling water will not ultimately ignite.
Oh, yeah, don't dig Garishek Senada. Well, show look at that and you should sing it down. You should take Jibe Tamati, Chigangan, do to the Shekdoa. Oh, they Garishek Dosena. Tamido Pewatolia, Tani or Resora, Tani. Oh, didn't Chongba and Chu to the Tani with the Sangi or Maresa, Cabarchangi, Dora, Tani Cabarchi or Tea or Mari, Tig Pig Mari, Jordan Shirablasova, Tamido Payagi, Cabarchangi, and then you or a tea and pig Esiora. Oh, take us. She did tank on a temple called Esera. Dandy. Shoot the temple Marva Sabason and Peruchi Camdora. Somebody called Sita Temple or social Luke and then Tilla, Pagbaji Chumbirmado Tinet, and they are London, Turtun Durmazia and Besha Marva. Contended Temple Ten Temple said Chikuda. And it comes in bed with Dharma and Medoa said. Comes somebody. Chewing the Garsora. Then the song is Jagra. Bazation Koshuk and the Kachins people the Chom Toguna. Then you sang it Choms and Yantin and Shikale Jagurmado. kasi kale pibodo chom togu tanga tibodo chom togu si ti tal chom yake omara yan bezu chene saba chene kale kem chom gura samsang ti ole degre samsang chi do legra sam bezu karmala tegu do sara ninji kom no paru chilis ninji abu chege ne ti chodele ko nambi degra ta yangya kom ne yar do ma do ko ya do me sejen do nge ba ma re so ra ten ba da kom sim bezu karmala me do ba ni suda karşıre 총바다 아니 추 저기 추니들이 오마레서 추디 땡땡 마레서 거라 총게도 꼼심받은 배주 깔만을 떼고 그래서 양자깔에 잡으라 마전 되긴게 막 총바나시 총토뱅게 봐 오마레 네 어다 저와도 싫어불어 소바 땡데 섬세시리 버섬을 땡버려 땡땡버려서 거라 꼼심받이 그저 꼼차리네 띠바도 그 꼼차리대야 배수 짠만 떼고 말해. 뒤섬지 땅부 끼그리 다 대간 이야기해로요. 같이 자네. 얘기를 지신기나. 이게 신바데 신사라. 가가 강아지 신대요나 신사라. 다양하게 가가 강 장고 말아. 다 뒤땅 말이야 딜레 사회들이 자네 신구라. 네. 어디시게 어레신 말로신 페이지 디거래.
So you can understand here. Here it's talking about how showing why jumping ability and boiling water do not have the particular mark such that they can increase infinitely. They're like two marks, I guess we're calling them here, of one is having a firm basis, a stable basis. And the other one is not needing to rely on additional, additional effort or how does it have it here? I'm trying to find the word that, anyway, that an additional effort or the example is, you can understand what it means by seeing that for boiling water, for instance, doesn't have a firm basis because when you boil it, it's not going to, it's going to just disappear. And boiling just sort of dries it right up. So it doesn't have a firm basis, so it's not a good example. And then also, in the same way, when you're jumping, it doesn't, you can't like jump and then jump again and reach the same length. That you just sort of tire yourself out. So I mean, you might be able to jump from one side of the room to the other side of the room, but you're not going to be able to do that again, and you'll just tire yourself out trying to do it. In order to make that jump, you're going to have to make the same kind of effort that you had to get from one side of the room to the other. So here it's saying that compassion and love and wisdom and so forth are not like that. The qualities of the mind are not like that.
Nyamadinasi yombengeba yomarwa. Bezu kamala toko udesgora. Chedeng de se lar chesimbati larian bezu kamala toba juram de zawada nijila soba toko maresgora. Chongda soba na toko udesgora. Uya teme temba nyjona kebata de mebetena. Chui chuta bude ko sabusona ya saru chin baruche Chag measure member men subso national chag mareshara. Te caresa ten tempo mareshara. So dan shirabla soba kumgi in a coten tempore, some says it, but the tempore, yilu robatinane, one shishi marba, yilu Zawadan shirabla soba to the yilu on the co. Then the tempo changes, serily tempos on the tune, tempos de resigora. Then me temba needing Jona. And it covered the corner on the pig mare sigora, children nashi rese. And it's all that she of la sobat in the mare, the temper and Bezu Jamala Medeba, Corner on the pig mother, Mefe Ranshit in the mare sera. Ranshit and Rama in the essay, oh, tende, then me them bad Bezu Jamala Turku Beranshi mare sigora. This one them, yeah, Pilju rese. And Zawadan Shirala Sochi, Tomato Meferanshi Maide, Tenda Maide, Narcomba Chebatini, she Lion Bezu Jamala Turban Juram de, then me then by Nidon Juna Cabardane, Mepena Ranshi Tenda Membesher, Chomba Choja, Combe Junsa Cabato, Tomato Pever Ranshi, Niminde, or the other teacher Lashana.
Departed.
That's around Dibadola.
Because a Chomge Bard.
Oh,
Chomge Nuba. So here the commentary reads as follows. If that statement is made, we reply, okay. The statement previously is, although through accustomation one can attain excellence in various qualities, they cannot transcend their natures infinitely, just as jumping and boiling water are not infinite. So so compassion, wisdom, etc., do not have a nature such that they cannot increase infinitely, because if they were such that previous accustomation generated subsequent moments dependent on related effort, or repeated effort, or such that they had an unstable basis, then their excellence could not increase infinitely, but their nature is not like that. So in the example of jumping, for instance, you could jump so far, but then you couldn't jump that far again without making a repeated effort. And you couldn't make that effort right away. And so then it's saying here that, and with boiling water, you can boil it until, you can't boil it until it becomes red hot like iron. It'll just disappear. So then here, what does have that ability to, the firm basis that compassion and wisdom have is this conceptual mind. That forms a firm basis, and then when you increase, increase your compassion so far, a certain amount, then you don't have to be repeating that same kind of effort that you put into doing that. It will just repeated effort then will increase it more, So then it sets that out here after this. Reading this paragraph, we got up to jumping ability.
총바 초진식도 안 되는 말아. 총바디 시거라. 공배 중세 개발도 배양 탐매도 배양시 말해셔라. 또지야 배르다 탐매바 가제네 배도 가제장네 뒤나시 배도 말해셔라. 타르투도 봐도 배 말해셔라. 때라 펜도 네바는 개발 치마 달라니 주변 네바 메시다세. 교조에 개발 강하시 좀 돼야돼. 갈래 겸네 소고 잡 잡고라. 배주전에 깨고 강하시 교정하면 배주전에 킬로미터 좀 두고나 대충에 치마디 양이 깔려있는 마도 나만 배주 잡아대 나디버도 좀 두고 스티버도 좀 내가 요 말와 좀 두고 내가 요 말이야 도시라 교지 깨지 나만 편도 뭐 주베 소하는 개발 치마달라 편바 주베 내가 메시다 하세 개발 친데라 tel라 펜도 네바남 개발나마들라 펜도 네바데서 류기 배주데 개발치마달이야 양총군에 tel라 더긴데 고치고 말해서 그래 양수 잡고 그래 주변 네바 메시다 하세 어디 봐도 지람나
So here, jumping ability, reading the commentary at the bottom of page 310, jumping ability, although it can be increased a little in excellence through accustomation, does not have a nature such that it can be increased infinitely. Infinitely, I don't. Thartukpa, maybe another sort of understanding that is brought to its what do you say, final state, or perfectly, something like that, because the effort that is able to assist it at a previous moment is unable to prove helpful in later achievement of excellence. So that you have that effort that you put into getting from one side of the room to the other side of the room, but it's not definite that effort that you put into that will then get you again from one side of the room to the other side of the room. Dadrisa.
No. Tanani did it on. Tato tenemandi, Soloka Jada, Nishu Sung Sikan Tango de Che, and it Jada Nishu Subsiki, Sikan Tango Cheka de to the Shadwa. Tato tenem my answer, Cabaret and Ranshini means Tiba de Shadwa. De Karishadosana, Chui Trade de Shadwa, Metansona. 중세 앞에 그래서라. 따도 때내 많이 지래. 개발培养세. 개발 중세 앞에 그래서라. 이나 탐매도 별도고 말해서 사부사도 말해서라. 그래서는 대외랑 신이 민디서 따도 때내 많이 지래. 개발培养 랑신이 민세더라. 랑신이 민세 개발 중세培养 탐매도 배워 랑신이 말해서라. 추디시거라. 추드시나더라. 따도 때내 많이 개발培养 신이 민세. 그래서는 따도 교계 때 추디 내봐 많이 봐 감내 균체배시. 따도 때내 많이 배시. 사부차에 때 추디를 때야 매가지도는 감으로 감시 버리지 수그라 매사도 그래서거라. 그래서 때한테 때문에서 그 살살도네. 사부시우지래 말 그런 감도 그래서도. 어디 봐도 지lam나.
Then boiling water then also is what do you say, explained as not having a firm basis, okay? I think that's what the word stable basis, sorry. Then boiling water, if you read at the bottom of the page here, 310, the commentary, boiling water, although it can increase a little in intensity, does not have a nature such that it can increase its heat infinitely. Because when the basis, the water, no longer remains, and the boiling and boiling, it boils away, and then it is dried up and the boiling is terminated. There's no more boiling at a certain point. So that's what is meant by a unstable basis.
This one? Oh, yeah, Tanteri Dangani, the Dibashe. Taniba Keber, the Tamedo Pelto. That Chongba, that Chu, Toria, Cashew Nibu Tentambata, Pesu Jarmala Metuba de Yona, and the Konya Tamedo Pesho with Esigora. Kashu Chongba, that Chu, Tosha, Tamedo Peva Siberta Sigura. And then Ganze Che, Yoruba, Yanzola to Mingur Nasa, Chongba of Gene, Kotambuchi, Chong the Bezu Sabatege. Kajinsi chomtugun ti tsesam chombala ngama de jema chombena ti pantoni ti bado ngebado chomtugu yona ta tini tame du pesho gore jema kaje chomna yaw do shogro o de yugma kanze che jurba yanzu la de mingyuna zoshen kebar chebar jursa kange che kombar chebar jurba yang zoa chema la tobara mingyurwara zoa ngame ringde chema shen kone kondo chebar jurwa echirse Kone kondo pelgu yunani ko chongpati tamit pesho gore sora. Thabkhe la yana tseso chojan do sonne rangi chachi gore. Tsawala sokwa ya di tamit pelgu chongpati chojola soba pelgu mare tin kyaba yore sigora.
Nice.
O dati lam dire.
Nice. So this next section of these verses is showing that if there exists such particulars, then it follows that there is infinite development. So once you have a firm basis and you don't need a repeated effort, then you have you can develop infinitely. Here, infinite is here it means like limitless, and there's another translation of that. I was just pointing out that again, also says, bringing it to perfection is another understanding of what they're talking about. So it follows from your argument that it is possible that jumping ability and boiling water be increased infinitely, because once there has been accustomation, a previous effort will make other subsequent homogenes more and more excellent, without being dependent on subsequent repeated effort. If that reason is accepted, then one can also take compassion, etc., as the subject and make an independent syllogism. Nice.
Dangani de soluka jadin yusyenga de da. Jadin yusyenga de karishe gore sena. Sawa na shiro la soba tezole ya. Temba bezu jamala madusa konde pewa de yo de esti shegdo.
So now we're showing that compassion, etc., do have the particular mark that that when you accustom yourself to them, then they can increase infinitely.
Similar to so kom jewa sigdo, similar to na shirabla soba, kom ni jewa de sigda. Rangi ngangi jugyur de se. Mela sokbe sing da nguju dan se so she. The similar to na shirabla soba kom sono, kom sono parujil kona ngangi ka keong grese ora, chama mai base ora. Tambo ngaju chawa kom simje re kom tabaris kom de na parujil ko lo ngangi. Bezu chema gori yongura, ngangi ke yongura. Chen ngangi jodu desi gora. Denga zu chom desi chambai na kale majina ko ngangi pike chom tuwe chi yomara. Desu nja. Semla tseso kom jewa rangi ngangi jodu desi. Di pedele ya mela sokbe shing dada nguju dani serso shing sigdo. Me tani shing desi mela trabi na. Paru chile me konangi ko ngangi. Tambo ya par chechi kale kya korwa. Ani basun paru shin kuna zozo bado me bado ra. Kagale ya kunga metro disa tuba shin chabudre me pa do shunge. Chan me kanga chagyo ra. Ko me pa shi tambo pa ne me pa shi tambo khabude Siman baasa sunu kona me ba ma la si tek do. E ma sen tambo sen se ba kon do shak do. O dinna she kona ngang ju do tambo ka le jan na sima bezo me go be she. So da shiro lo so ngang ke shak de.
Okay, so here we're doing verse 124, where it says, compassion, etc., arise through accustomation in the mind. They will naturally enter the mind as fire enters wood and mercury enters gold. Here, so this idea of naturally enter the mind, through accustomation, the more and more you accustom yourself to compassion and wisdom and so forth, you're sort of making these repeated efforts, but there comes a point where it just kind of naturally increases. What do you say? Naturally, nangi, automatically, something like that. Then it's just like fire, for example, when you're well, in India they make these big bonfires because everybody gets really cold in the winter. I don't know, it's not that cold for us, but and there are times when it's really cold. But so they make these fires, and it's hard to sort of, well, we know at any kind of bonfire, you have all the wood, you assemble all the wood, and then you're trying to light it, but eventually it just sort of like takes off, and you've got a crackling, bonfire. So here, the commentary says compassion, wisdom, etc., have a stable basis because they arise from accustomation of their own previous homogenes based on clear cognition in the mind. They are not dependent from moment to moment on a few on a new different effort, because when they are accustomated, they will naturally enter the mind. They will naturally enter the mind as fire, etc., naturally enters wood, until the wood is reduced to ashes, and well-refined mercury naturally enters gold. Yeah. No, yeah.
The petty young Shandachi Labrashan came out. Payana, Yana mutual than ser to Cholo, mutual than ser to Yaya watch party chena, and it could be Yakuran Tadabache, Yamaguna, myself said there to be Sarah. Oh, the Koran Hangi, Yatablam was there to be Yesura. And Yaya Tayet and Dalia. Yat Maps and the Tapsi Shadow, but today Kachunibal Maris, or Dinashan Resembra, the Lotion together. Timata Watsiba, Saya Kachunibal Temagoshin. Yanasi Pedals, what I am a pendishan at the Grece, so I serial so comes on the ranking and the give pendishan at the Grece.
Yes. So with the effort, then, it's not like when you're making a fire. So it's just say they naturally enter the mind as fire naturally enters wood. Here, the example is, it illustrates that fire doesn't require you to sort of keep on lighting it, right? That's it. You make some effort to assemble all the wood, and you light it, and then it's not like it's just going to go for a little while, and then you have to do the whole thing again. It just sort of naturally takes off, and you have a crackling bonfire.
Oh yeah. I know this solo got and you should do it. Tingan shake that debate shake that. Oh, the curry shake those and Tanda the Gaber shake those, 10 temper, comping better camel meteor said, Gabache shake those, and the thought the shakes are young, those Gabache shake those. Can they shake those? Oh, Tenica so. Teacher Tedale get them only give you and then you should do. Combat Tedale give it so than Shirola so Sura. Teacher Tedale get the combarjia, combacheva la tene, combacheva tedala tene kebe, savada shirola soba chuchensigora, tichi tedala legine, only gigundenies, ten temba in desgora, coten tensa de tempo resgora, ten temba in demandondi, taviso, ten temba in dese, and something only to keep a yundani bashir. Tichi tedala legide, only gigundenies, something called Rangshilia. Something all Gabani, something endangered Suara. Something Rangshin in Dengi, something endangered Kokazena Kona on the page or Suara. Something Rangshin, something like Dengi, John to the Kanga, Commerce and I am man, Mouse just something to your Suara. Or 2000 something endangered Kasura. Your dance at the Shangini out around Driver. Can't set the Mavis over the Mab Driver. Oh, did it? The Tibali and Danish, you see, Tibalia. Cocara Shabbat and a town to receive. Shabbat and Madonna, and it was actually the Tedesira. Oh, this or there's a called Dilly and Day or Resura. Then by in this something only to keep it in the Geshe. Come Bezu Carmala, Medovani, Techujan, saw the Shirula Sochuja. A Q Combe Keji Chimanam never. So Medawala, Teba Mayintese. Jicom Chan, the Niji Kajin come the Che Kajin Lepsona, that the young Comgina till a yard grandmother, Dagin said the Dur Dredge or Marco, Yanni and the Bezicana. Then I saw a Chima, the Chima Cabaret by Insigua. Q Combe, a Soa Chimada, Chima Shangi, so I read answer. Rinda, Tuma Kona Kondo Cabado. Pagua Cheber and you are but in nature, what did it? Bezu, Cheber, the Kona Kondia Pilgrim Madojiga, taking Bezu and Yabuchan Saturday, Yanga, Yang Changon and Changomare. Kaga Kanga, Kaga Kanga, the Chan Shinsona. Yanga Bezu and till it have a single mother. Yang Kaga Kona, Chango, young Yamaneshi Chango, Marwa. Oh, the Nashi, don't debate the lotion.
So, the stable basis then is explained, and that was just a brief demonstration. So now an extensive explanation is given. So a stable basis here is therefore compassion, etc., which arise through that accustomation, have a stable basis because they are qualities arising as the nature of the mind. It's just what it's saying is this is a quality of the mind that accustomation that you can accustom it and accustom yourself to certain mental states, and they will improve, like with love, compassion, and wisdom, and also, the same can be said of reducing, non-virtuous states of mind. They gradually will disappear through, the confession, through doing confession. Confession has, that's one of the good qualities of non-virtuous states of mind, if you want to put it that way, that through confession they can be reduced. And so it's this idea of the mind itself having a stable basis. So the next paragraph then on 313 explains that in more detail. So thus, compassion, etc., do not depend on their subsequent moments of accustomation. They do not depend on a separate effort. You don't have to keep on making, a renewed effort, just like with jumping. Their subsequent moments of accustomation don't require that. So because each subsequent effort at accustomation produces a greater and greater growth in the excellence of many homogenes. Here, talking about that kind of what do we call it? Anyway, a sequence or a succession that you that the whatever the quality you're seeking to increase, then increases from one to the next in succession.
Nishu Tabdin Derda Soloka. Kanji Riding Amaya Sabel and the Pewach said, well, Tadi Tondatsu, Tanda, Sawadan Shirola Soba Kungina, Kongangi Tigre said, Tonda Tunishegdoa. This one, Jordan Nishu Tabdin Derda. Oh, yeah, take our seguration, Tonda the Su, Sawadan Shirola Soba Kungina, Nangi Penny Paruchil Koran Rangshingi. Nangi Ketum get a child over the Yeshe. Tit and that to Tunishegdoa. So, but I don't. Consider doing Amaya Samuel and the Pewach, Savala Solo, the combat Unicala Nesigdoa. Sawadan Shirola Soba Tazukarasana, combat and compare him with the Shandaki Yomara. Written Nimchitaba, Musicum, and you compare with the Pendura. Pejarization should have chat over Stita and Yardura, Pendura, Timado Shandaki Komara, Mensakumare, Shandaki Komara, Zictum by the Combayana Yando, Tangaranzu Tikadua, Nadu Chajan Karina, David Madotinea, Comnea, Yajeris, John Dura, some such a Richmondua. So, Mandata, Tanda. Tell David Martine and Dread, the Messons at Tendua. Didn't know Sarah. Social Carsore. Yani and the Comnaco, Namsan Hobdical, or Tanga Yajeshin, something to the Hakotumara. In a Kungama, the Devi or Maristata, do your Cocaconia. This was then this way. Consider reading Amaya Samuel and a Pewache. So I am not Ninjicum, Sevacum, Yardura. Mother Zawada, Ninji Service Association. Nimajil Tojaku Desikia Kilomara. Yana Yandukum, and the Pendu, they said. Consider doing a my Sabel and a Pewache. So I also loaded a combat in a car. So the Kumji Majer Mado, Yana and the Kumbi in the Yamanasi Sajan to name my reservoir. Around the Sajan is somebody, not the days in Tilelawashi and Manson. The days in Tatus there in Talayan Samado, a penny, I do some the terrorism. What in the Maritas. Considering Amaya Samuel and the Pewach and so La Solo de la Combertuna Canane, Terrakungi and Yamanes de Mardase, Yana Yandia Yard, Perusing, Nangi Kingi, Medaban Nangi Samukonga, Daming Nangi Samukonga Chagre Sigara. Oh, this one. Considering a message of the Combertuna Cana. So I don't share a lot of what the Dutch is joining Dengi. Combertuna Sajan to Caneva and Bete Sera. Gangachana Rangi doing Amaya. Samle Kone Kondo Pewach and Jasembi and then Beaches. Or Digation Buddha. Tamaton that you know what the Hako would rescue. It's hard to live with rescue.
So now we're on this verse 126 in the commentary on 313. Here the idea is that you can increase. Well, it's really, this is a wonderful, what do you say, injunction or encouraging injunction. We have this idea that, sorry, you don't, but what's being pointed out here is that when you increase your compassion and wisdom and so forth, it'll increase one what do you say, sequence on another. We have this feeling that we don't sort of think in that way. Our compassion will increase. We think that it has to be, like some kind of feeling of, oh, look, it increased, or that's indication that it increased, or what do you say, some kind of surprising change, I guess is what we could say. And then we also think, oh, I did that, and so I've got my compassion just so far, But what's being said here is that that if you just work at it, then it's going to increase. That's just the nature of it. You're accustoming yourself to it, or he uses the word accustomating yourself. And so then here, so then if we read it, it says, how come those minds of compassion and wisdom remain limited when they have been accustomated through two applications? It cannot be accepted that they can, because they have the quality of mind that increases more and more from the seed of the previous appropriate homogenes. So it just increases one one section of the sequence at a time. It just keeps on going. That's the way it is. And that'd be so. Then you can get I said it was enough, but I just remember that what it's saying is that you keep on increasing it, and it does get to a point where it just increases, what do you say, naturally. It just sort of like that idea of fire and wood. Yeah.
rangi ringdang ama de kumgi ne pel do de slawa de kono komne pen do ina ne chongba de komne pe thame du pe ada chongba de ko kumgi wa wa so ri ane do komna kombe thame du pe ge na chongba de thame du pe so wa so de ni dag ma re se le da de se do chongba ya thame du pe wa ta komba le pe che se na se kaji to ba de ko ra 다디 팔렌게 거라 대달 총리 라총미 디교톱다 베조타세 니방해바 니지 총벌네베 다니 있어 다들 말고도 데카서 제소 대달 총벌인데 아마레 총벌치마 중앙 마인바다 저 라소바 rindanga마 콤발라테네 rindan가마 데톱지 치마치마 코네 콘도 페그레시아라 노티나시 총벌도 텐데 마레스 거라 제소 대다르 제소 배워 대다르 총바 rindan가마니레 총바 치마 나긴 좀 마레스 거라 그래 랑기 류디 톱다 베조지 좀 여바 대zam래 주어시 코나 류디 톱 거제르나 깔레 거제 점네 고치구나 딜레데 코 페그리마도 콤바데 야루야루야 마레스 거라 류디 톱다 베조 커두텔이고 슈갸야데 지중왕기 용구데스 거라 기질람나 시간 당분이 기술잡이 시간 당분이 있다.
So here we have the opponent coming up with when the opponent is looking at this idea of accustomation, then the opponent is applying that again to jumping. So it says it follows then that jumping ability, etc., also can be increased infinitely, because they increase through accustomation, just looking at accustomation. So the Buddhist reply then, it follows that it is not the case that later jumps originate from previous homogeneous jumps, as compassion etc., originate from previous homogeneous, it's talking about that from compassion. Compassion originates from previous moments of compassion. So, because however great one's physical strength and exertion, only that great will the jump be. It's dependent upon on those qualities of how, great your strength and exertion are. Therefore, a jump has a nature such that its extent is limited because its causes, physical strength and exertion, have the limited ability to generate only a measured jump. A jump, you get just so far. Don't you say?
다데 다데 뉴스 잡게 시간 기만이들 돈다 시기와 누가 내봐 얘기 총방 내배 당이 인사더라. 그래서 자와도 시간이 된 건지 조선.
Yeah.
라서.
Right.
어야 누가 내봐 얘기 총방 내배 당이 인사도. 때가서 됐으면 총 가야 돼. 세전도 내버려서 다 딸에셔서 그제 총내 장장 그제 전에 고바로 르르기 또단 배졸에 때문에 체 내버쳐래마도 그제 공공이게 페르 요마리스거라 세전도 내버려 저와는 싫어라서 그제 공내 세전도 내버 말에 탐면도 베그래 세계 요마리 대점가도 야도서 요마리세 요마로 탐면도 베그래 세전 말에 총발에서 봐도 세전래 소소 소볼을 빠빠지 그제 좀 두고나 그제 전에 그네들이세 나저 매버차 자도서 또 상승은 그제 좀도나 때리면 좀도 요마로 어디서라 누방 예반 얘기지 총방 예배 당이 예세 저와다 싫어라서 세제 예배지 말에서 배야 요래서라 되는 총방 세 예배 당이 제 인디에서 총바대 체 예배 당이 지래 저와다 싫어라서 세제도 얘기 말에 배야 요래서라 대 교세 총바대 세제도 얘기가 가르치는 그런 게 류기 톱 치중다 고깔레견 배주 쪼슈 치중고 한게 총바대 세제도 예배 교래서라 대교 류톱다 배주다 총바 세제도 예배 세제도 깨배 누방 예배 얘기 누방 예배 교래서라 어떻게 봐도 지람나 원하셔도 유샤 야 누방 예배 얘기 총방 예배 당이
Then so then the opponent is coming back with basically trying to understand this this idea of accustomation. Well then, no matter how much jumping is practiced, it is impossible that steadily applied physical strength can increase ability anymore. If you assert that, then you contradict perception. They're thinking, well, still you can increase. When that ordinary being first practices jumping, they do not from the first jump as far as they later will be able to jump, because even if the appropriate conditions are fulfilled, physical weakness and imbalances are induced by excess of phlegm. So one clears away the phlegm and other imbalances through gradual effort, but when one is purified of them, one will not be able to increase one's jumping ability infinitely, because even then one's jumping ability remains limited by the extent of one's own physical strength.
단데 가지양 도박고요라 원나세 리톱 나르스베 총바 지점 자장 공도 배워 미시바른 듀라 되는 것은 당게로서 코견시고라 어쩌나 리디 톱글라테네 아니 앞에 고요나 아니 미겐고다 또 리톱 나르스베 로침부 창게도 총바 장나야 야르데 요마르베시고라 리톱 충주서 와시고라 원나 리톱 나르스베 총바 지점 장자 공도 배워 미시바른 듀라 되는 것은 당게로 kengoina ko luchechana to yara rayora luchecha ma buyora kengola ta du do ati ngusum de ge do asana sigora da dichu ko to dobala ra ta de pa le jade Tene Tambu Chini do Chumi Lumi Tumbe Chirse. Soloka Dira. Diwoma Chigan Kasura. Dada Nishutarguki Chigare Dua. Chigani de Dua. Tene Tambu Chini do Chumi Lumi Tumbe Chirse. Oko Tambu Neko Kengo Dina. Tambu Ne Chumbanasi. Deg Marito Chagin Koto Star do Resigora. Tambu Nine Jema Chani Chumbanation Chontu Maresera. Caresne Chumi Lumitumbe Lulia, Began La Sobada Lu, Jibutin de Yonako, Chanson of Lutos Yandro, Yamaletos, Dar Chomtu Resigora. Then Tambu Chini to Chumi Lumitumbe Chelse. Tambu Chongba Chore Tameba Tene, Tambu Nine Chi Chongbe. Session to Chong took my rest, China to start do Resera. And the Tambu Chomado Chema China to start do the Tikaresne, 20 sign up again, so you Lu Yang Bata, between Barcheves. So boy up again, so Nazar, the Lu Jiguar, to Unani, Yang change to start do this. In a session to Mangim, Omara. What teach you?
Sorry, I got a little ahead here. Kenna was talking about this idea in the previous one of therefore at the bottom of that previous paragraph, therefore a jump has a nature such that its extent is limited because its causes, physical strength and exertion, have the limited ability to generate only a measured jump. The point being made here is that that it's a measured jump. That's more literal. Usually, he's talking about a finite. It's finite, and so that's the point being made there. But then the opponent is coming up with this idea that maybe an elderly jumper could practice, and you see them, they're able to jump further. So, well then, no matter how much jumping is practiced, it is impossible that steadily applied physical strength can increase ability anymore. If you assert that, then you contradict perception, because they're seeing that this elderly person could improve. So when that ordinary being first practices jumping, they do not, from the first, jump as far as they later will be able to jump. Because even if the appropriate conditions are fulfilled, physical weakness and imbalances are induced by excess of phlegm, etc. So one clears away the phlegm and other imbalances through gradual effort. But when one is purified of them, one will not be able to increase one's jumping ability infinitely, because even then, one's jumping ability remains limited by the extent of one's own physical strength.
Drisa. Yeah, then did that. Jada Nishutargu did that. The chicken tamani did that.
Oh.
Jada Nishutargu chicken tamani did that.
So that last part.
So Rimbi Mitum Basena around them need to Nessa. Or Dick Asodosana. Ko bezu chen chong chang ge de ken go ina karin ro so we rim di mitun ba pe gen la so wa to pa sel cha so na ni tanda chan na ta ya ro ke ho ma re so ra se ne chang na ya thame do me phel de se de da na ya rang ge lu du chi sam yo ba ti ni do che ne be se se de ko che ne ba re ta che chen do ge ba re te le ta ro chi yo ma ta ko tu re do na do ma to che ti ba do chi la na.
Yeah, so the last two lines of that verse is, one clears away the phlegm and other imbalances through gradual effort. But even so that's, you can see an improvement in an elderly person, but even that, it has a certain, measure. But even when one is purified of them, one will not be able to increase one's jumping ability infinitely, because even then, one's jumping ability remains limited by the extent of one's own physical strength.
This one.
This one.
Oh, that did the word like that. Chongba ring de like kenase. So na shirabla so wa koran kom de do ko ta do ring de le kon de previous la ro. That chongba de ring de le ya pen do yo na se ko ken dan ge wara. 총바 양총 전에는 그때 페페 누구 있나 시고라 총바 링달레 깨나 총배치도 강바 떼과 잠게 당ring불 총바 타와다세 살아 소바 콤콤 세발라 소바 콤콤콤데 바루체 나게 전에 콘도 쪽에서 레버다 남산 세바 나게 끼온 거라 어때나 신다 콤바데 던진데 친구들 박스 총바 링달레 깨나세 총배치도 강바 떼과 잠게 당ring불 총바 타와는데 그래서 이게 콤바 좀 탐에도 배 교이나 또 공부도 탐에도 배그리 찍바서네 콤바 좀 탐에도 배 교이나 아니 자중다 주니 자중 차이게 또 좀 심지어라 뭐 이렇게 제가 자중 세중도
자충 자충 그러와
가루나 사카스 쇼바양게 루도 사그리 세셔라
네 카르타 데 카사 카사 drill sinking
다든다 자첨부지다 주니스나더라 야나 공부 좀 탐에도 배 교이나 자중다 주니 공부냠나 공부 단다 잡에는 총바대 단다고 좀더 다 그래서 부덕지다 현대 자중다 미덕지스나더라 어디 봐도 지라나
So if we read then at the page on the top of page 315, if jumping ability arises from previous homogenes, then it follows that merely by lifting one's foot to jump, one will jump a long way. The idea here is that, if it's really going to be the same as how the mind works, then with compassion, for instance, then compassion at a certain point becomes automatic or increases automatically or what do you say, naturally. So then if the same was true of jumping, then all you have to do is make a little movement like that and you jump a real long way, but that's not the way you see it. And it also follows that if mere practice is the cause of infinite increase, then birds and monkeys should have equal jumping ability since they are equally practiced. Here, I think the idea is there are certain birds that can jump. We could just say a big bird, but crows do a good job of jumping. I always admired how crows can jump, but here it's really talking about what do they call it? A Garuda, okay, a Garuda, and Garudas apparently have a great ability to jump, and so they have. So Garudas and monkeys should have an equal jumping ability, but because since they are equally practiced, they're always jumping.
rinde kombala tende ya pendugu yuna sigora chambada chawala so rinde komsuna ni pendugu risalawa o rinde kombala tende pendugu yuna ni simjen tamjele ningji chambu yoba tagre sigora simjen tamjele ningji chambu yoba tagre karesne chawala thoma yoma resora kyal thoma ne chawala thoma yoma ra ani simjen kangale
concept got it.
This one.
So now we're disposing of the objection that compassion increase only from accustomation of homogeneous substantial cause.
Zundele pe ayna ni simjan tamjeliya ningji chembo yoba talge do sigara 가르스네 통마 매반네 고 닝지 요에 버려서라 파마다 부다 부두 마주베 심자요 마르티도 저요 봐서라 교안가마 심제 들서와레 들스탄다 들서와요 심제 탐제를 써와요 그래서라 링데 공부할 때는 연구에는 심제 강가를 써와셔도 닝지 전부 요청도 하시거라 다들 랭자기 ор다 저와라 통마 매지 랑게 링데 레케베 chershina kyome desigdo ne seran sabun lejon kederan sabun kyuchen midun chojine mena samla tada nyedu gyursigdo rangi ringda lejon we so nyingji chambu chochen sigdo seran sabun lejon se rangi ringda ngame sabun la den chwe so wadan shirola so chochen sigdo kederan sa kashe kederan sa gyuchensa ta rangi sabun gyuchensigora 장심 통람베 semla rangi ngangi jugba te tangi dun gyurdese midun shojimne mena semla tada nyi dun gyursigdo 장주 semba 통람바 de jene ko semla ngangi kibire sora semje tamjale nyi chichambo de karesana ko midun shojimne mena sede 통람바 de la komba 통람바 te komba chebe 닝지 강하시 대교라 rangi ringde sabun kyuchenki midun cho shedan soji neba mebe echeseda midun choki ne mena semla teta nidun kyusi chanju semba pagwa tuzulya midun choki neba kondo ta tinte yoma resigora tesonda ko chawala soba ngangi nigi chembu tigre resigora tiba de chelamna
So here the opponent is saying that it follows that all sentient beings have great compassion because compassion is beginningless and arises from its own homogenes. So if it just arises from its own homogenes and it's, well, parents, and we always have some form of compassion, like parents for children and children for parents and so forth. And so that would just be increasing and increasing and increasing since beginningless time. So everybody should have great compassion by this time. But then the response is there is no flaw in our position. Compassion and great compassion, which originate from their own homogeneous seeds, have a nature such that they naturally enter into the mind of a bodhisattva on the path of seeing. Because compassion developed by so that it's saying that there's a certain point when they become more natural, because compassion developed by a bodhisattva when they are on the path of seeing possesses a cause that is its own homogeneous seed in their mind stream, a seed that is not damaged by opposing factors as anger, etc. So it's at this point of when you reach the point of the path of seeing, then that you don't have these opposing factors that, like anger and so forth, that damage your compassions. So you can increase your compassion and what do you say, patience and so forth. At that point, naturally. Due also, huh? Oh, maybe we'll just, I know the time is up, but we're just going to read that one, the continuation of the commentary here.
Tao Geshe me chagra. Simje pebala kebe rangi nyela mine tungeda tenya be zawa tsam hingi se. Simje rangi pama da nyenye do da Puguputula Soba Tsayo, the Ninji, the Niji Chamber Marechera. Simja Regula, Simjan Shakula, Tesam Kemano, Sigma, Pama Jubakang, Masonza, Simjan Rela Ninji Kemano, the Sigma Rechera. You know, Simjan Rere. Toma Mebana Padamam Majube Simjam Bisiberesura. In a day, and she down from the Jedura, young Congress at Tauchagra, she down from the Twitching to some Jetamjel Mibe to get the 10 to get so I need some put the Tegma, the kissing Marisura. Some Jachilla maybe so I get some Kajati, she down from the Yamdon, the Ninjishambuya Pelto Marisa. But the Basilosha now how could do listen.
So you'll understand that the flaw is not here because the consequential flaw that compassion abide always in all sentient beings is not present. Because although compassion, etc., arise in the mind streams of some sentient beings, they are destroyed by anger and so forth. Taking as one's intentional object one's relatives who are born as ordinary sentient beings and thinking if only they could be free from suffering is merely compassion. It is not great compassion. It is possible that each sentient being not experience in their mind stream compassion toward all other sentient beings because it is impossible that there be a sentient being who has not experienced each other it is impossible that there be a sentient being who has not experienced each other sentient being as their parents at some point in beginningless time. If compassion, etc., are not destroyed by anger, it is impossible that there be a sentient being who will not at some point take all sentient beings as their intentional object and generate the great compassion that desires to free all living beings from suffering. However, if just compassion towards one sentient being arises, that disappears when destroyed by anger.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That got some soji.
Yeah, so now we got up to 131 in Genla's book, 130 in ours.